Now, AEW is holding its third annual Grand Slam episode of Dynamite at Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York City this Wednesday. The latest update has the attendance for the show at 7,000, which in any other building for a Dynamite right now would be a huge number because their attendance has really cratered in a lot of markets. But for Arthur Ashe Stadium, coming off 2 years ago when they did 20K, and they were not going to do 20K again the following year. Yeah, there's the first time, and it's like Wembley. 81,000 or even if 72,000, whatever number you want to believe for Wembley Stadium, it's a huge number. Probably not going to do that again next year when they go back. So they did 20K at Arthur Ashe 2 years ago. Last year they fell, but they still did about 14,000. And to be at half that, only a few days away from the show now, that's not a good number. Right now they have the building set up for 11,000. And maybe by showtime they'll come close, right? They've got a buy one, get one offer going that's been moving some late tickets. They finally dropped ticket prices in the loge sections. It's possible they will hit double digits by the time Wednesday rolls around. But they are still going to be down from last year. They have an attendance problem right now, here in the States. You know, they had Collision last night in Pennsylvania. That did about 2,500 people. They've got Collision next Saturday in Grand Rapids, Michigan. They're only setting it up for about 3,300. They had almost 6,000 in the building for Rampage this time last year. They only had around 2,200 tickets sold as of a week ago. Now they're bringing Rob Van Dam back for a match because it's in his home state, and Tony Khan probably figures, well, we'll put RVD on the card and we'll sell some tickets. We'll see. We'll see how many tickets that moves. I don't know how big of a ticket draw RVD is these days, but we'll find out. They're doing a Dynamite Rampage double taping on a Tuesday next month on October 10th in Missouri called Title Tuesday. And they only have 1,500 tickets sold in a building that they're setting up for about 2,700. I think it has a capacity of closer to 6,000, but they're only setting it up right now for 2,700. They're burning out some of these markets also. You know, they still do well in Chicago for all the times they run there. They love Chicago. But I think they need to spread out more and run smaller venues more often. I'm not even criticizing the fact that they're running these tiny buildings in some cases. I think they need to do more of that. They run these NBA arenas and they fill them halfway. They could try to hide it on TV. In some cities, a small crowd can be very vocal, and it sounds great. You could have a building with 3,000 people. It sounds like you got 15,000. But that isn't always the case. But, to ignore this and say that, there's nothing wrong, it's just WWE fans being, biased and saying all these things. No, there's an issue. There is an issue here. It's a very real thing. But the Grand Slam card, it's a strong card. We've got Chris Jericho against Sammy Guevara. For the first time ever, they agreed to beat the hell out of each other and get all their anger out so they can work together and go after the tag team titles. On Wednesday, Jericho talked about first seeing Sammy working a prelim match on the NWA 70th anniversary show back in 2018 and telling Tony Khan, hey, you got to sign this kid. So he said he saw money in him. And Sammy put Jericho over and said, hey, without Jericho, there would be no AEW. But he said, I'm tired of being your sidekick. He goes, I need to beat you. Jericho said he doesn't think Sammy is ready yet. I think Jericho wins, and he thinks, okay, we got it out of our system like we agreed. Let's hug. Let's go back and focus on going after the tag team titles. But Sammy is not going to be able to let this loss go. And it leads to further problems between the two of them. At least one more match. I think Jericho should win the first match. So he's my pick. Saraya defends the AEW Women's World Championship against the former champion and her former Outcast stablemate Toni Storm. I am loving Toni Storm's new character, the Hollywood starlet. I think she needs a new entrance where they roll out the red carpet for her like Melina and Eminem back in the day, paparazzi, lining the ramp, taking pictures as she makes her way to the ring. But Saraya has not even had one title defense yet, and I think them showing Mercedes Moné on camera so many times at All In is all the proof you need that she's coming in once she's fully healed and she's medically cleared. She was still in a walking boot at Wembley. That's what I read. She may not be medically cleared yet, but that doesn't mean that she can't show up at Grand Slam after Saraya wins her match. And they do a little tease of a possible title match in the future. Maybe Wrestle Dream, maybe Full Gear. So I think that's what's going to happen. Eddie Kingston against Claudio Castagnoli, title for the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship and Eddie's New Japan Strong Openweight title. I pitched the idea of doing title for title weeks ago in New York City, so I'm glad that not only are they doing it, they're doing it on Wednesday, and they're not taping it for Rampage on Friday. This needs to air live. Claudio has already pinned Kingston twice this year. He pinned him at Supercard of Honor in March for the ROH title. He retained. And again at All Out in a tag team match. This is Eddie's time to finally beat Claudio and win the ROH World title in his hometown, in front of his mother, in front of any other family he's got in the building. What a great moment that would be. This has been building for long enough, and it would be so much more meaningful for it to happen here than it would on the next Ring of Honor pay-per-view, which probably won't even happen until December anyway. So I got Eddie Kingston going over and winning the title. Jon Moxley defends the AEW International title against Rey Fenix. Fenix was injured in storyline by the Blackpool Combat Club, which caused him to miss Stadium Stampede at All In. This was after Moxley and Fenix had a great match on Dynamite last month. The International title, it feels like it would be a better fit on Fenix than it does Moxley. And I made the comment months ago. I said that Konosuke Takeshita should be the AEW International Champion. That was before he turned heel. I still feel that way. I would do a title change here. Fenix gets his revenge. He wins the title. And when Fenix eventually loses that title, the person he loses it to is Takeshita. So I'm going with Rey Fenix. And in the Dynamite main event, MJF back home in New York. I saw that he was out at the Mets game today representing AEW. Nobody knows pain like a Mets fan, so he and I can commiserate together. He's back home in New York, although Queens is he's very different from Plainview, Long Island. It's not exactly the same place. But he will defend the AEW World Championship against the winner of the Grand Slam Eliminator Tournament, the man who beat Roderick Strong on Wednesday, Samoa Joe. And Roddy, when that match was over, he then faked another neck injury when Adam Cole, he spotted Adam Cole coming down the aisle, and he immediately dropped to the ground. He collapsed and was groaning in pain, and they strapped him to a gurney. They wheeled him out of the arena. Joe attacked Cole from behind and put him out with the coquina clutch. And Joe screamed into the camera at MJF that he is going to take everything from him. I absolutely love seeing Samoa Joe, the Stone Cold Killer, back on my television every week. He's just fantastic. And it would be a shame for this to be a one-off for Joe where he just loses and it's on to the next challenger for MJF. If it's me, I shake things up. And this is my prediction. I predict that Samoa Joe is going to win the AEW World Championship this Wednesday. MJF, he's already got the bad neck that he's selling, right? It dates back to the Brainbuster spot on the steps at Wembley Stadium. That can play into the finish of this match. He's not 100%. Joe wins the title. Maybe Roddy gets involved and helps cost MJF the title, but Joe wins the title. And with MJF on the shelf for a while, and I would not have him out for that long, but now he's on the shelf, he's got the bad neck, Adam Cole steps up to seek revenge for his best friend, and Adam Cole is the one who eventually takes the title from Samoa Joe. So when MJF comes back, even if it is only a matter of however many weeks it may be, now you've turned everything upside down because Cole has the title. He didn't beat MJF for it, so their friendship is still intact, but Max wants his belt back. And he already beat Cole once before. Adam Cole knows this, and maybe he's not as gracious as MJF was in granting him a shot at the championship when he asks for it. Because I thought there would be strings attached or some kind of fine print on the contract when MJF agreed to give Cole a title shot, but there wasn't, as far as we know. It's still possible that there was some provision buried in there, and they're playing the long game here when, eventually we'll find out that, If Adam Cole lost at Wembley, he can never again challenge for the title so long as MJF is the champion. I mean, look, the guy did tell us he's a scumbag. He made that very clear. That would be some long-term booking. But as far as we know, they played it straight up. They had their match. MJF won. If MJF expects the same kind of kindness from his partner, he may not get it. And then that creates problems between the two. Therein lies the drama. And for that reason, I think it's way more interesting to me if Samoa Joe wins the title than just having MJF beat him and retain. That would be my idea. And yes, I'm not talking about a lengthy Samoa Joe run as the AEW World Champion. And we are talking about moving the title around quicker than AEW has done before. But see, here's the thing with that and people who complain about playing hot potato with the world title. Some people make it sound, they're so overly dramatic. And they make it sound like this is an AEW issue where they play hot potato with their world championship. No. WWE made a habit for years out of playing hot potato with many of their titles. And I think that some people have either WWE derangement syndrome or they were traumatized perhaps by their time watching WWE. And so they think that every promotion does exactly what WWE does. AEW doesn't do that. They don't play hot potato generally with their world championship. So this one time, if you were to give a kind of a token short run to Samoa Joe for the purposes of furthering a story, which just so happens to be their top story in the promotion right now, then I don't have an issue with that. Now, Joe did say that he was going to take everything from MJF. MJF also happens to be one half of the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions. Fat McAfee on Twitter, and what a great fucking name, by the way. Fat McAfee tweeted me with a different take that I also think is very good. I thought it was worth mentioning here. Joe further injures Max in their match, and that causes MJF and Adam Cole to lose their Ring of Honor Tag Team titles to the Kingdom, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett. And it also leads to MJF against Joe Part 2 at Full Gear in November. And you could do Adam Cole against Roderick Strong on that show. I don't know if that means Joe, in his scenario, I don't know if he's implying that Joe wins the title at Grand Slam, like I said, or he doesn't and he just makes MJF's neck even worse. I still think he should win the title. And then they could just run it back at Full Gear and he can get the belt back. So I like that idea too. That's not a bad idea either. MJF against Joe, Cole against Roddy, that's a good double main event for that show. Probably throw in a rematch in there between Takeshita and Kenny Omega. I think that would make for a strong top of the card. But again, that would be my idea to shake things up a little bit, but not just for the sake of shaking it up. It's like a Russo swerve for the sake of swerving people, bro. No. I think it makes sense in the context of the story. I think it works. So that's why I like it. But they're also taping Rampage Grand Slam on Wednesday, which is a 2-hour show this Friday, with these matches announced, including 2 trios title matches. The Young Bucks and Hangman Page challenge the Gates of Agony and Brian Cage for the Ring of Honor 6-man titles. This is stemming from Hangman beating Cage on Dynamite this week and the Bucks saving him from a post-match attack. Hangman's got a match scheduled with Swerve Strickland at Wrestle Dream. I think Cage and the Gates of Agony retain. I think Swerve will get a measure of revenge here somehow, and it's going to cost the Elite the match. Just puts more heat on Hangman against Swerve on October 1st. The other trios matches for the AEW trios titles, with the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn defending against the Dark Order. Shop AEW, for those who don't know, is now selling, I can't even say replicas because that's not the right word for it. They're selling copies of the hot pink trios belts that you see the Acclaimed carrying around on TV. They're selling the actual belts for $5,000 per belt. And again, I don't mean replicas. These are the actual title belts where if something were to happen to the ones that we see them carrying around on TV, they would be replaced with these. Because evidently it takes 9 months to manufacture replica belts, and I guess they just didn't want to wait. And here I thought $6,000 for the Fiend belt was insanity. If you have $5,000 to drop on one trios belt, God bless you. But I bring this up because there ain't no way they're selling Acclaimed belts for $5,000 online and having them drop them to the Dark Order. I can't even say that with a straight face. I cannot even say that with a straight face. There is no chance in hell of them losing these championships on this show. And the challenge was issued by Christian Cage on Dynamite to a tag team match with he and Luchasaurus taking on Sting and Darby Allin. And on Friday, it was announced for Rampage Grand Slam next week, not Dynamite. As Christian pointed out, he didn't take the losing fall for his team at All In the coffin match, nor was he paired up with his usual partner. He actually wasn't supposed to be in the match at all. That was because AR Fox could not fly to the UK, and the company didn't know about it until that week. So Sting and Darby, they won that match. This time I think Christian and Luchasaurus get the win, and we get Darby and possibly Nick Wayne, I guess, and they're both from Seattle. Wrestle Dream is in Seattle. I think maybe both of them challenge for the TNT title. Nick Wayne hasn't done shit to earn a TNT title shot. So I would not have him in that match. Darby getting a rematch, even though he already lost once, I can understand that. But Nick Wayne getting a TNT title shot doesn't mean Tony Khan wouldn't do it, even though he has done nothing to actually earn a TNT championship match.